So you get your lawns looking fantastic, all your borders and your baskets and your planters are looking great too, and then suddenly out of nowhere we get hit with 38-degree heat waves. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you a few hints and tips that you can do so that when it comes to watering, you're watering smarter, not harder. Okay, so one of the signs of a droughty lawn is what I call the Brillo pad effect, and this is where you stand on it and it looks very silver and very wiry, and this means it's dehydrated, but it's not the end of the plant. If you can catch it at this stage and water heavy for about half an hour, within another half an hour your lawn will be back up to scratch. If you catch it and it's already gone orange, you're going to be looking at a few days before it recovers. But we can show you a few things that we can do to help its recovery. So before we start treating the Brillo pad effect, let's understand why it's happening. And this corner is a great corner to look at because we've got 5 different variables as to what can be going wrong. So variable number 1 is that we've got a beech hedge, we've got camellia over there. So these will be sucking water out from underneath. They're very shallow rooters, so the little fibrous roots will be competing with this and we start drying out. Variables 2 and 3 are this tree. We've got up above and we've got down below. Up above, we've got this canopy which doesn't let any water through. So when it starts raining and we're out in the middle of nowhere and we see a tree and there's no thunderstorms, we stand under it because it keeps us dry. So we're not getting any water. And one of the biggest things my customers come to me and say is when I turn up watering, they say, it's just rained, what are you doing? It's not rained under here, so we've got to protect this as well. So that is another reason as to why your lawn might be drying out, because it's not had sufficient rainfall like the rest of the garden. And number 3 is obviously we've got tree roots as well. Now the tree this big, the roots are going to be well below, and we won't really have any problems with the roots because that we're tapping into water that we don't actually know is there. So it's more the canopy up above not letting water in than the roots of the trees sucking out the water. But if you've got a newly planted tree and the roots aren't that deep, then that could be a problem to you. The next variable is that we have got the road next to the lawn. So this is going to get hot and it's going to dry out, and generally not so much with the tarmac, but if you've got edges around your garden, these have got a haunch on with the concrete, so there isn't much soil though, so these are going to burn out quicker and cause Brillo pad effects. You've got to take care to give more water around the outside of the garden. And the last variable is that we're on a sand base, even though we've incorporated field compost into it over the years, and at the time of doing the job, it's still in essence a sand-based lawn, and the water that does get on will just drain straight through. So that's another variable. So that sums up really the only ways you're going to get the Brillo pad effect. Okay, so before watering this lawn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on with some H2Go wetting agent, some Grace and some Sopro just to help recover it. The H2Go wetting agent is going to get the water through, and that Grace and that Sopro is going to help these stressed areas recover quicker. So that is the product on now. Now another way we can water smarter and not harder is that get to know your lawn and the areas that it dries out. So we focus more on those areas. Like for example, this area here doesn't see any sunlight from probably 10 AM till the last thing at night. It starts there, get a little bit, and then the rest of the day it's in the shade. So we don't need as much water here. I very rarely water heavy here because I don't need to. It's only in those areas that we discussed just before. So that's another way you can water smarter and not harder. So that's the products on. Another tip to water smarter and not harder is to get to know your lawn and get to know where it dries out. Areas like here doesn't see the sun from probably 10 AM because it just starts there and then moves around the back of the house, and then at night we get it along here, so it doesn't see much full sun in the day. So this area is more or less in the shade like a Batman because of the shape of the house. We see Batman's head mostly here. We've got a bit of camellia, so it dries out there, so we need to focus our attention over there. So that's another tip. So just get to know your garden and you can water smarter that way, not waste water as well, because water can be your best friend in a drought, but put it in areas where you don't need it in a drought and it doesn't get to dry and it just sits there, it can be your worst enemy. So before we start watering, let's just go and have a look at the setup at the back, because we've got a bit of a different pump around here. But if you've got poor water pressure, I'm going to give you some tips now on how you can improve it. So the water pressure here isn't great. This alone won't work, an oscillating sprinkler, and I just haven't got the time to spend watering 400 square metres of lawn with this. So we've come up with a way around the back. So this is our setup round here. We've got a bit of a commercial pump going into a bigger hose pack so I can get everything done in 20 minutes rather than hours and hours and hours with a domestic tap that isn't very powerful. So this is one way of doing it, but this is quite expensive. These pumps, we fitted this last week, a new pump, the other one broke, and a new Granular on top. So what this does is this protects against this running dry. So if the tank here, which we've got, the 1,000 litre tank, was to run out and I wasn't here and we didn't have this would run dry and burn out. So this needs to have constant water supply through it to keep it cool. So if that's not happening, this cuts it out. So we've got this in, and last week we knew this was coming, we had to get it fixed. We got in touch with Neil at Pump Service and Engineering in Ashton on the Line, and they went above and beyond the call of duty to get this out to us and get it fitted, and they've done a great job, so we're good to go. So what it does is comes up there round here, and it comes around, it's a bit of a mess around here, sorry, and we just turn it on here and I'll show you how powerful it is after. So we've got a 32mm hose, but if you haven't got the money or the room for a sophisticated thing like this, is not really sophisticated, it's just a bigger pump in essence. We can have something like this. Is what I got as an emergency, so we could water the lawns. So what you've got is you've got a suction hose. So you would, for example, you don't need a 1,000 litre tank. That can go in a big flexi tub, or you can even empty one of your wheelie bins and fill that and use this, put that in, and you've got a better water supply. And this is 3,500 litres an hour, so this is really powerful as well. And this will run an oscillating sprinkler, which was the one like the England cricket team with the movement where it goes one way and then it comes back on itself like that. So normal pressure, like low pressure household taps, it'll go like that, but it won't come back on itself because it hasn't got enough power to trigger the springs to come back. But with this, that is no problem. That's 150 quid. This is like over £1,000 to get it all set up. More than that we fit in, and the tank was like 400. Pump was 600. The Granular on top's another 100 on top, and then you've got all the pipework and everything. So it does get quite costly. But this, if you've got low or rubbish pressure, then this is well worth thinking about, because this is only 150 quid. It's a bit more of a faff when you want to get it going, but it saves the day when you've got 38 degrees temperatures to cope with. So whilst I'm watering, let me just tell you about how the wetting agent works. So you can see here we've got particles which have like a waxy coating around, and rain falls on them and they can't get through, and it just beads on the surface and just repels. So what happens is it just runs off. So what we do is we put the wetting agent on, and this coats that waxy coating in a polymer so the water can get through. Okay, so look at that. So that is our pump, and see how much it's delivering out. That tank will empty in about 10 minutes, if not less. So I've got to get a move on. So I'll water the whole lawn first, and then I'll come back and pay particular attention to all these Brillo pad areas. I still need to wash in that wetting agent which is sat on the leaf because it's no good on there. So we need to get that through into the roots, into the soil, so it can all be taken up. But it's most important today that I get enough water on these darker areas. So I've done the whole lawn now. Can you see this area here where the water is pressing it down? That's your Brillo pad effect right there. So we can see if we do the same thing there, where it's not dehydrated, it stays upright, but here, where it was black, it's flattened down. So I really want to douse this. And then what you do is just leave that for a minute for that to percolate through, and go and concentrate on another area like here. Do the same thing. What I forgot to say was we have got the tap switched on, refilling the tank as we go, but it's not at the same rate as it's coming out, so we will run out eventually. So we're not just using that, well, you don't use 1,000 what's in the tank, because the outlet's probably 100 litres above, so there's probably 900 litres in there, and it's probably being replaced. We're probably using 2 litres, say, and it's replacing 1, so we're not getting that back, but it gives you a few extra minutes. So if you didn't put a wetting agent on, the water would just sit there and dry off and evaporate, and you wouldn't actually be doing anything. It'd just be drying off, and you want that water to get through. So overloading it, giving it weight will help force it through as well. So you can see here it's quite bad because we've got a few of those variables. We've got the tarmac, which is hot, drying it out. We've got the stone pavers, which are getting hot, and the haunch, there's not as much soil there. So that's why it would dry out here more so than anywhere else. And this really isn't in the shade much of the time. So if we just come back over to this area where we watered heavy, it's only been about 8 minutes and it's come back already to its former self. Over here, things are looking up as well. Just one area which we've missed the window for the 10-minute recovery. This has got to the orange stage, so that's going to take a lot longer to come back, maybe like 2 to 3 days. There as well, maybe that's looking at like a 2 to 3 day, but everywhere else we've caught. I will come back tomorrow and water as well, because it's just getting hotter and hotter. 38 degrees, this kind of grass isn't meant for those temperatures, and it can't sustain life at that, so we'll have to come and water heavy, just not for the water in the roots, but just to protect the plant against itself, because it just, like I say, it's just not designed. Them temperatures are like your warmer season grasses, like your Kentucky bluegrass and your Bermuda grass. Those temperatures are what those are designed for. These are cool season grasses. So yeah, so I'm happy. So another question I hear quite a lot is, when is the best time to water? Whenever you can. What happens if you're a blue light worker and you only work night shifts, or you sleep in the morning, or you work afternoons and you can't water at night? You're going to have to water in the morning. So just do what suits you best. I've been at Wembley, I've been at many football stadiums at 3 o'clock, and they're all watering the pitch before kick-off. So it's not going to do any harm. Yes, you're going to get a little bit more evaporation, but just water when you can and when it suits you, and the lawn will be absolutely fine. So round the back we've got better pressure because we're not going as far. It's about 50 metres to the front, but from there it's 25 on our hose. And again, know your garden. This area here is in the full sun all day, whereas that has been in the shade all day. So if we just go and launch loads of water in those darker areas, we're going to risk getting disease because the water's just going to sit there. So again, just know your lawn. We know that there's drains in here, so that is another variable actually as to why your lawn's going to dry out quicker, because your water's going to get through those drains quicker than it is everywhere else. When I first came here, I was like, oh, I've got this company in who do the Premier League pitches. That was 9 years ago. And he said, I'll put tarmac top sport in, 80-20, oh, it's going to drain beautifully. And I said, yeah, but you don't want it draining too good because you're going to have to water. And that's been the case. So we've got a little bit Brillo pad there, can you see it? So for some reason, just little pockets in this lawn get very dry very quickly. But again, if we treat that, just launch it with water. Overload it. That will be back in minutes. Again over here. And wetting agent as well is not only for your lawn. Get it in your pots, your borders, hanging baskets. I've put the granules that I've got in the border, and I've pre-soaked the plants in liquid, so we've got loads of potential there for water to get through. And this petunia display is going to be lovely this year. Remember, we've got the patio, so that's going to dry out on the edges quicker. Dries out over here because there's a triangle which is hemmed in by blocks. And obviously just wetting the blocks is going to cool down the blocks as well. So we're in a good position here to beat the drought. Right, so that's this video done as far as here goes. What I'm going to do now is do the short drive, 20 minutes over to the posh job and go there because we're due a cut, and I want to get some of the H2Go granules on there because we need that water on there because we've got a very thick thatch layer there, especially at the top end, so we really need to get that moisture in there because it'll soon dry out, and as you know, the manhole covers dry out as well. So we'll head over there, so we'll see you there. For me, it'll be 20 minutes. For you, it'll be after this transition. So when it comes to cutting in the heat, what do you do? Well, there's a few things, isn't there? I just tend to carry on as normal, and if I'm pushed, I'll just slightly leave it a little bit longer, and I'll lose more water at night through transpiration than cutting it shorter and losing the water off the soil because the sward has been exposed. So for me, I'm going to leave it longer, if not the same, because I'm watering as well, so it doesn't matter. But it's up to you how you want to play it. Okay, so we've seen the H2O liquid in action today. So what happens if you've not got time to spray, or it's just such a big area and it's windy, but you still want to get a wetting agent on? Well, the granules are a great way to go. So I'll show you how to apply them next. Okay, so we've got the granules, 2.25 kilogram bag, and you go on at 15 grams a square metre, so it's not as much as the feeds as in Equilibria or like Winter Rise and Shine and stuff like that. It's very fine. So what it is it's a zeolite with a wetting agent impregnated onto it. So it's a 2-in-1 really, because you get the wetting agent on there, and then once that's rinsed through, you get the zeolite left behind, which then increases your cation exchange capacity, which is your soil's ability to hold onto nutrients. So it's good product, 2-in-1. So we'll get that on, and we'd like to go on with that quite low actually, around about 24, I think we worked out it was about right. So we'll go on with that and we'll see how we get on. I've got some more with me, so if we need to put more on, we can do, just because that's the rate we've gone on at. There's no harm in putting on more on. It's not going to scorch because it's not feed or anything like that. It's totally safe. So we'll get it on, and then we'll get it watered in, and we'll talk about sprinklers and the best ones for you. Now, sprinkler wise, if you've got good water pressure, you can work one of these. If your job's like ours where we've just been, then you're not going to be able to run one of these. You might be able to get it go around in a circle, but it's certainly not going to come back on itself like I'm going to demonstrate now. So I've got it switched on, so we can see. So there's a little pin there which isn't down at the moment, so I'm going to flick it in, and then it'll get stuck between these two. And you've just got to get it right so it comes back, and it will flick and do its own thing like the old England cricket team. There you go, I can do it now. You've got to keep flicking it until you get it right. Now the good thing about this is that you can turn it so it goes further. If you have a big lawn like this one, you can cover more distance. But if you've not got a big lawn but you still want to use this, what you can do is turn it right down and lift that up. You can just do a circle. So the smallest lawn you can do. Other options include the oscillating one, which for me I don't like because they fire too high up in the air, so I'm just going to get wet now. It's quite refreshing. So you can see you could just like that go around and do circles, but we don't want to do that. We want it to do this whole lawn to get this wetting agent working, activated. So it's up to you what sprinkler you choose, but I like these ones. And if you get either your pump, so you got the commercial pump or the hose lock pump, you could whip one of these off that quite easily as well. But as long as your vessel's big enough. So like I said, use a wheeler bin maybe. Flexi tub you'd soon run out, but wheeler bin or water butt, absolutely perfect. So it's quite therapeutic just watching this. So just leave this on, and then Mark can just keep coming out and changing it. So we'll probably do an hour in each location. It's 3 o'clock. Because we're watering for a long time, it's going to go down because we've got weight going in straight after one another. But if you're watering every hour, just giving it a little bit of a splash, that's just going to evaporate. But if you water in one big space, the weight of the water will get it penetrated through. And with the wetting agent on there as well, you're going to get that water straight through to those roots, and then you can crack on with your day. Okay, so that draws the water smarter, not harder video to an end. Hopefully you've picked up some tips on how to stop your lawn drying out in this severe heat. So we'll see you next time here on Daniel Hibbert Lawn Expert when we're doing something else lawn related. And remember, during every England game, as far as we go in the tournament, from the start of the game to the end of the game, so if that's penalties, then it's penalties. The code will whittle then World Cup 10 is everything on the website apart from Equilibria has 10% off, but just during the match. So take advantage if you like. So see you next time, take care, and bye for now.